Welcome back to the Firearm Show. How you doing, Chad?
I am doing well. Kerry, and yourself?
I'm doing quite well. AR-15.
What more needs to be said?
Exactly. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time. And this is just a great gun. It's such a shame that people are so weirded out by it. You know, it really is. The fact that it does have a military background is the only thing that really is the only negative towards it, and it's really a shame because it really has nothing much in common with the military versions.
No, I mean you said it right there.
It's a semi-automatic. It's not full auto. It doesn't do 3-round bursts. It's just a one trigger pull, 1 round down range. No different than our 1022s or anything else. It's just the scary black gun. But let's get into it. The AR-15, which does not stand for assault rifle, regardless of what anyone says, does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite, the original company that manufactured these, built them for the military. And here's where it started getting confusing. Originally, it was the AR-15, and then when the military took it, it was labeled the M16, and they dropped the AR-15 name. And then after they finally came out with a civilian version of it, that one was called the AR-15, which, so that's why some people get them confused, I think.
I can see that happening.
Is just both the original and the civilian had the same name, but
different times.
They had different times, very different. It was originally, the design was sold to Colt, and so Colt started manufacturing them for quite a while. And nowadays, you can basically get the specification and build them yourself if you want to, or many companies manufacture the parts for them. In fact, there's not a Colt part on this.
No, not at all.
This is built entirely from aftermarket companies, a wide variety of companies out there. Why don't we talk about what we actually put into this particular model?
Lower is actually a Spikes Tactical lower. The upper was
Aero.
The bolt was also, I believe, Spikes Tactical, if I'm not mistaken. And then the rest is just DPMS, and I think we ended up going with an AR Stoner barrel on this.
That's right, Stoner barrel. And we have a UTG red dot scope on it. And
which surprisingly did really well.
It held up. I think I paid $36 for this on Amazon.
But how many rounds downrange and no problem?
Oh, I mean, we've put a few hundred downrange with this now. I like this. I mean, it's got little flip up covers.
I mean, it worked out really
nice,
well.
bright.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Definitely held zero really well. Now, we could have mounted this lower by taking the handle off, but we opted to keep the handle on and had to get this other little mount piece on here to enable. But, we bore sighted it, dialed it in. I should mention the parts kit, CMMG.
Yes.
So we got that. Standard just hand guard on the front. Your basic buttstock on the back. I mean, so if you're talking about what is a stock AR-15,
that would be
this is pretty much it. Now on what you see in a later video is the 3D blackout, and that one has a different. It's got a few different things. It's got quad rail. It's got the mag pull. It's got
a few minor upgrades. Which, I mean, you can take this and do that with it. So if budget is of a concern, I mean, buy a basic one and just upgrade it as you go.
Yeah. Now, even though we have the red dot on here, if I take off this one screw here, this whole thing pulls off, and we've got our iron sights. So regardless of losing battery power or whatever, you can resort back to those iron sights and still keep on rocking with this thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
We had definitely a lot of fun with this thing on the range. One of the things I want to mention is there's about 5 to 7 million of these available right now. I mean, it's a huge number of guns.
I think we have a few of those.
we may be responsible for a few of those now. One of the misconceptions about the AR platform is that it's difficult to fire. that it's got a lot of recoil. It's got a lot of muzzle lift.
Absolutely ludicrous.
It is fairly ludicrous. We have a fly that's bugging us. Now, remember that video with Joe Biden, and he's like, "Oh, you do a double barrel shotgun."
Oh, the 2 blast one.
Yeah, don't use an AR-15. They're hard to aim. They're hard to fire. Well, I'm going to show you some video right now of taking my wife to the range, and
First time
ever with an AR-15. She's plugging away, and the funny thing is, I had gone to the range with 5 magazines that were already loaded, and put the first one in, fired it, made sure everything was lined up properly. She gave me her look. Can I try that? Sure. I showed her how to put a magazine in and close the bolt. 4 magazines later, I was out of ammo. She ran through it like there was no tomorrow. And
she had a great time.
She had a blast. She came back, she had the biggest grin on her face. She was so surprised. And at one point, I think she actually felt guilty that she enjoyed it so much. She comes from a lot of that background where it's the big black scary gun, and then actually getting on it and realizing that it's just not that scary to fire.
It isn't. It's what the media has created out of it. Not and I understand that, but realistically, I mean, you put it in the hands of a law-abiding citizen who, again, obeys the law and just has good, responsible time with it. There's no problem with it.
The thing, and this is what really bugs me, is that so many of our inept politicians want to ban this, and yet they're never used in crimes. It's too damn big.
There is that. I mean, I've heard of a few, being used in crimes.
Sure, but generally speaking, the number of crimes committed with a rifle in general are almost nil. It's their handguns.
Yeah.
And yet no one wants to ban handguns because you never get that through, but let's ban the big black scary gun.
Always.
So now let's talk use cases on this. And that's really a questionable one. Some people think it's the ultimate home defense gun.
I disagree.
I tend to disagree as well. And the main reason?
Over-penetration.
Exactly. It's a heavy round. It's going to go through, this wall, through the other wall, through the other wall, through the other wall.
It's not so much the heaviness of the weapon. I mean, there's not much to the bullet, but it's just there's a lot of ass to that round, so it's going to travel fast.
There is. And now, in my house, if I'm upstairs shooting at someone downstairs, a burglar or something, at least I know where it's going to go. But if I had to shoot sideways, I mean, these shots are going to end up in my neighbor's house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
it's too dangerous.
Not one that I would recommend for typical home defense. There's certainly a lot of people that take them hunting. Put a scope on this thing. You've got some nice couple 100-yard range accuracy with it. Again, not my first choice for a hunting gun. I prefer a bolt action or something, but
to each their own.
Exactly, but it's fully capable of being a good hunting gun. Now, target gun.
Oh, it's awesome.
The best. Just because it's fun, you get that feel to it. It's got a little bit of pop to it. It's just a great target gun, and it's so easy to just turn out tiny groups.
Oh, I agree.
And I think that's where someone like my wife really got into this, is because even though it's got some meat to it, and it's got that little bit of kick to it, she was still tearing up the targets with it.
Yeah, it wasn't too much. It wasn't overbearing.
Exactly. It wasn't too much. And that's what you see when you start getting into the bigger stuff. But this is just not like that. No. And I think the only way to really experience it is to experience it.
Yeah, you have to try it.
Now, one of the things that I really like about the AR platform is the ease of cleaning it.
It really
to
is.
A point.
Unless you're breaking down the bolt in its entirety,
right.
But
your basic field strip.
Basic field strip. I mean,
why don't you show us how easy that is? Let me get these mags out of the way for you.
Yeah, just on the other side, you just pull this pin. Close the bolt first, and then pull that back. handle, clean as always.
Simple. So we call this shotgunning it. You kind of open it like a double barrel shotgun. If you wanted to remove this,
One more
pin,
and you're ready to roll.
So if it's a little unwieldy for you to clean it when it's all together,
There you go.
right there. Run a bore snake through it, do some general cleanup in here, make sure your carbon is all cleaned off. What's the typical maintenance on the bolt assembly?
I think the last one I was actually I clean them every time, regardless of how many rounds I shoot. I don't know. With this is a little bit different than the AK, so I actually take really good care of it. So
What should you do on just, like we just ran 100 rounds to it?
I just do basic outside cleaning. Just shoot some cleaning solvent in it, make sure it doesn't have an over buildup. Otherwise, you're gonna have to break the bolt down and go at it. But
Which still isn't that hard.
it really isn't. You really need the proper jig to do it comfortably. I mean, you can do it freehand, not really recommended. It's just so much easier with the jig.
And yet it's still not that hard. I mean, there's a pin here, you pull that out, you start disassembling it. How often would you recommend doing a deep cleaning like that?
It really depends on how much you're shooting. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
You say every 500 rounds, 1,000 rounds?
No, I can see really going 2,000-3,000 rounds before you really should actually do a deep cleaning. But again, it all depends on the quality of the ammo. I mean, if you're firing, like say Wolf, which is known to be a little bit dirtier, probably you want to do it sooner.
Now, what we will do, because we know it's a popular topic, is we will do a video on a full deep cleaning down the road. But in terms of just your general basic, take it to the range, run through a couple magazines, just clean it off, re-lube it. Where are the main spots to lube this before putting it back together?
Actually, what I do after especially if I do a deep cleaning, I mean, and again, it really depends on the individual and the rounds being used, but I've gone a weekend where I fired 2,000 to 3,000 rounds, and then I'll just go ahead and do a deep cleaning. But once I'm done reassembling this, I'll actually put it in like a Ziploc bag and actually just hit it with some break free and put it back in the weapon.
That break free is some slippery stuff.
Very good stuff.
I like that. It's pretty good, and you get big bottles of it, so it lasts a long time. And just
you don't need much.
Yeah, you'll start seeing where you're seeing wear spots in the different grooves and stuff, and just make sure it's oiled up nice. You don't want to fire it dry, or otherwise it's not going to cycle right.
Yeah, it really won't. It won't cycle right if it's bone dry.
So let's see how it goes back together. It's actually fairly simple.
Yeah, it really is. Put the charging handle back in. It's notched on the inside of the upper. Then you put the bolt in. Just make sure that you actually have this rotated. You'll actually see this piece here rotate down, typically. Put that back up. Slide it in the bottom side of the handle. Pardon my reach here, Kerry.
I guess that's one part we didn't point out. This charging handle is the BCM gunfighter.
It is.
It's just a little bit bigger, and it's got this nice little bigger release on it.
Yeah.
And it's just, love it. That's all I'm going to say. Love it. BCM gunfighter charging handle.
It's different. I don't know. For me, I think it's definitely worth a couple extra bucks.
Boom, ready to fire. It's just that easy. So in terms of the overall platform, cost, well, let's talk cost, right? This one was built entirely from parts. Mm-hmm. Nothing was pre-assembled on here. Everything was built. We told you what the parts list was. And I think we were out the door right around 600.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So you can build a very high quality platform for $600. I mean, that's not bad.
I mean, you need to do some shopping around.
Sure, and we told you what the parts were. So
Easy enough.
Go look up those parts. Yeah, you can go buy a off-the-shelf Bushmaster for $1,200.
Yeah, I've actually even seen them come down to about 7 or 8. But the nice thing about building it is that you can tweak it. Well, I mean, you learn a lot by building it, yes. But, I mean, you can actually, I'm going to use, a better grip or a better stock, or maybe I want a quad rail. You have those options as you go, rather than buying something and maybe go, well, I'm not going to use that, and now you just have a piece laying around.
The one thing I'll say is we put about 100 rounds through this. Well, maybe not today. I think we did about 80 or so rounds today. But even though you can start feeling the heat on it, it still didn't get as hot as the AK did when we were firing.
Yeah, definitely not.
The rounds don't have quite the punch to them, so it doesn't build up the heat quite as much. I mean, there's been times like when we were testing those AR pistols, those started getting a little warm because we were kind of blazing through them pretty quick. But generally speaking, it still doesn't become an awkward gun to have because it's too hot.
Yeah, I mean, you'll feel the heat rolling off of it, but it's not uncomfortable.
No, not at all. So one of the things we said about the 1022, everybody should have one. Feel the same about this?
I really do. It's just, I don't know. It's all American.
Okay, let's see. Use cases, kind of went over that. Let's talk ergonomics on this one. One of the things, that telescoping stock, can't get my words right today.
Telescoping stock.
This gets you about 6 positions on this one.
Correct.
So really, anywhere from a nice short length of pole to a nice long one, which I really like. So it makes it a little easier for me to get up on that sight there. The sight sits really high the way we have this designed, so you don't have to get too low on it, which I think is a little uncomfortable sometimes.
I mean, by having that, it just allows you to get proper cheek well.
Yeah, so I love that with this. This handguard, really nice. The real basic.
It's just that's the grip that comes with the CMMG kit.
Yeah, so very comfortable, and like I said, if you can put together something like this and your wife, who has never shot one before, can get behind it and plug away.
And wants her own.
Yeah.
I know.
Purple.
Blame me.
Purple. She wants purple. So we'll figure that one out when the time comes. Don't knock me yet for it. So ergonomics, we covered that. Firepower. 223 or 556, pretty similar rounds.
That's equivalent. I mean, the 556 just has more ass to the round. I mean,
we're getting, or we have, Magpul PMags, 30 round.
Yeah, I mean, we've had these since before the ban, but I mean, I love Magpul's equipment. I mean, wherever I can, I'll use them.
These are very easy to load too. You just start pushing them in. Not hard on your fingers.
No, not at all.
There is a loader from Butler Creek. They have a loader that kind of helps, but I just don't have a problem loading these.
No, you really shouldn't.
So I like these. They have this little
dust cover
on them because heaven knows you don't want dust on your stuff. But the round is pretty good. It's not much bigger, diameter. It's only 0.003 of an inch difference than a 22 long rifle. So you're not talking a really big round. And when you're shooting paper at long distances, it's hard to see where you're hitting because it's a pretty small hole.
It is a small hole.
You're not tearing big ass holes in it, regardless of what you think this thing is capable of. It's a pretty small round.
It is.
So, but you can send a lot of lead downrange very quickly with this, and it's really fun. If you have a range that will let you do it, waste some lead. It's fun.
It did sound like a cash register today, though, every time I squeeze the trigger.
My wife sounds like a cash register every time I take her out on this thing. We talked about cleaning and tear down on here. General fun factor, it is hard to beat this platform.
It really is. I mean, it's a blast every time.
It's just, there's other guns that we've taken out, and you see some of our other videos that, they've got a lot of kick to them, or there's something awkward about them. Everything has its pros and cons, but it's really hard to find any negatives about this when you're out there at the range.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. I could just rave on it forever. It's just, I think everyone should have one just because it'll piss off your neighbors. No, I'm just kidding. But because it's such a fun gun to shoot.
I mean, you said it right there. I mean, if you can, I would buy one.
Yeah. And depending on where you live, you might want to buy one soon. Just saying.
There's that.
Just saying. So that's the AR-15. Absolutely recommended one. If you're going to build it yourself, don't be that intimidated.
No, don't. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't, all those pieces and everything. Even CMMG has their own animated video that shows you how to put it
That
together.
video was incredible. I think you can get to it from their website or from YouTube, but it's a 3D animated thing, and it shows you piece by piece where everything goes. Plus, the CMMG kit is all color-coded, right?
Yeah, all the bags are color-coded.
So you're only opening the bags as you need them. You're putting stuff in place. If it's your first time, maybe give yourself a few hours or a weekend just to feel comfortable with it. You can put these together in a few minutes now, whatever, But first timers, don't be that intimidated. And if it's a cost thing, just start putting the pieces together.
Maybe buy a lower, put the lower kit in, put it off to the side, get your upper.
Now, you cannot just buy everything online. You can buy everything online, but you can't have everything shipped to your house.
Correct. Everything on this but the lower. That's what has the serial number. That's what you need to actually go to your FFL and actually do the paperwork.
So what we do is we order them, have them shipped to our local gun store, Rocky Mountain Guns and Ammo in Parker, and they take delivery of them. We go over there, we fill out our paperwork, they hand it to us.
We're on our way.
We're on our way. So that's the typical process when buying something. It's actually the same process of buying a full gun online.
It is.
Whether it's a 1911 or whatever, we have to have it sent to a gun store that's local, have them do the background check, we pick it up and walk away. But in this case, it's just this piece. So as you're building it, everything else can be shipped to your door except for that piece right
Correct.
there. And even though it looks like we have selective fire on here, we have safe and fire, and that's it.
Yeah, that is it.
Forward assist, ever use one? Nope. It's just push a little pin in, make sure it's seated right, but I never needed to use it. It's just a tremendous amount of fun. Can't recommend it more. Get yourself an AR-15.
Definitely.
This has been the Firearm Show. We'll catch you next time.
Take care.